Driving down the freeway the other day, I thought of a story I have not thought about in years and years and years. When I was 16 years old, like all 16-year-olds, I got my driver's license and I was just out of my mind with excitement. When my grandparents came to visit from out of state and I could hardly wait to show them my newfound driving skills. So while they were there, we ran out of milk and my mom asked me to go get a gallon of milk. I eagerly volunteered and couldn't wait to take my grandfather with me. Well, we pull into the parking lot of the grocery store, and as I am pulling into the parking place, I hear this little screech. Well, I didn't really know what it was, so I just kept driving, and then my grandfather, in such a sweet, sweet voice, leaned over to me and he said, "Honey, I think you should stop." And I said, well, why? And he said, "Because I think you're hitting the car next to us." Well, I tell you what, I mean, it was just silent in our car. We walked into that grocery store, neither of us said a word. My heart was so heavy. We got into the line to check out, and I looked at my grandfather and I said, "My dad is going to kill me. It's a brand new car, and I have just scratched this car from the front to the back. He's going to kill me." Well, my grandfather leaned into me and he said, "Sweetheart, if you want to tell your parents that somebody else hit you, I'll go along with your story." Well, I couldn't believe he did this, but I declined and said, "Oh, thank you so much, but I really need to tell him the truth." So we get home, I walk in reluctantly to my house. I look at my dad and I said, "Dad, I'm so sorry, but I have scratched your brand new car." Well, I was just ready for voices to be raised, for a grounding to take place, for the keys to be taken away. And instead, my dad absolutely shocked me. He looked at me and he said, "Well, I guess it's happened." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "You know, everybody gets in a car accident at least once. Yours just happened to happen sooner rather than later." And he said, "So, it's done." He said, "Did you learn from this?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, did I ever learn from it?" He said, "Well, then just don't do it again." I could hardly believe that I wasn't getting in trouble for what I had just done. I mean, I had just wrecked his brand new car. Well, a few hours later, the phone rang and it was a friend of mine, and she wanted me to come over to her house. Well, I thought, there is no way that my parents are gonna let me go out and go visit a friend. But my dad shocked me again. He said, "Honey, I think you should go and I think you should have a good time." And then he did something that absolutely astounded me. He reached into his pocket and he held out his keys and he said, "And you can take my car." I thought to myself, I cannot believe this is happening. You know, the day my dad did that to me, he illustrated the difference between mercy and grace. You see, mercy is not getting what we do deserve. Grace is getting what we don't deserve. See, that day, I deserved to get punished. I deserved to get grounded. I deserved to get the keys taken away. But instead, my dad gave me mercy. There was no punishment involved. And even more than getting mercy, I got grace. I was handed the car keys. I got a gift I didn't deserve. You see, sometimes in life, we hear the words mercy, we hear the words grace, we don't really know what those mean. Mercy is not getting what you do deserve. Grace is even better. Grace is getting something that you don't deserve.